Hello, boys and girls, moms and dads, grandmothers and grandfathers. I hope by this time you're having a wonderful, happy Chanukah, and I hope it continues to be just as happy all through. It's a pleasure to come to you with another story for this night of Chanukah, and special thanks to my friend Mr. Winter, who helps me bring these stories to you. Tonight's story comes to us from the great Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. It teaches a very important lesson. Once upon a time, there was a king, and this king wanted his palace to be painted by the best artist in the world. He found two great artists, and he decided to put them to a test. He took one room, and he put a giant curtain in the middle. And he told one artist, you paint the wall on one side, and the other artist, you paint the wall on the other. You have 3 months to work. The artists were not allowed to look at each other's drawings or each other's paintings. They just had to work alone and see what they could come up with. And while they worked, the king offered them the best of the palace's food and drink. They could order anything they wanted: Chinese, Mexican, Italian, even Jewish. Well, the one artist got right to work. He didn't take much time to eat the fancy food and drinks that the king offered. He just thought about his work. He would get up early in the morning and plan his drawings. He would work through the whole day, barely tasting food. And late at night he would fall asleep, and while he slept, he dreamt of the next day's work. This he did every single day, except for Shabbos, of course. And piece by piece, his beautiful painting on the wall became a reality. The other artist had a different attitude. He laughed to himself at how hard his friend was working. Why work when you can enjoy the life of the palace? Every day he ordered wonderful food for himself and fancy, expensive wine. And every night he would listen to lovely music and fall asleep to the sound of a violin. He would sleep late the next morning and order a big breakfast, and just occasionally look at the blank wall, which he hadn't yet gotten around to painting. Well, 3 days before it was time for the king to inspect the work, the lazy artist began to get very nervous. All of a sudden he lost his appetite. All of a sudden he couldn't sleep so well. What would he do? Only 3 days, and his wall was empty. He had heard his friend working in the room next door, and he came up with an idea. He took a special kind of black, shiny oil, and he painted it up and down on his wall until the wall became a mirror, a shiny new mirror. Well, the next day, when the time came for the king to inspect the work of his two artists, he and his courtiers came first to the painting of the hard-working artist, who by this time, poor man, was thin as a rail and had bags under his eyes, but a smile on his face, because his work was truly wondrous. The little birds looked like birds. The trees looked like trees. You almost thought that you were outside because the colors were so bright and beautiful. When the king walked into the room with his entourage, they looked at the work of the artist and they gasped, "Oh, what beauty! It's amazing!" And then the time came to look at the work of the lazy artist. And they pulled down the great curtain that divided the room. And lo and behold, something incredible. A perfect copy of the hard-working artist's work reflected in the mirror. Some of the king's crew were fooled. This artist is truly incredible. He has managed, without even looking at the other man's work, to paint an exact duplicate. Who had ever seen such a wonder? But the king was a wise king. He was not so easily fooled. And he took out the great sack of gold and jewels, which was to be the prize for the winning artist. He took the sack of jewels and he placed them beside the real painting. And in the other painting was their reflection. And he said, "Now each of you has received the reward that you deserve. Go and enjoy your jewels." Well, we know what happened. The artist who had wasted his time had nothing but the reflection of the treasures of the other. The hard-working artist took his treasure and a small vacation, and then came back to finish painting the rest of the palace. That's our story for tonight, my dears. May the light of Chanukah shine in your hearts now and always until you're 120. Happy Chanukah.